Well, hi there, kids. Let's do it live on a Tuesday edition. Merely Bo, the great Z. Good to see you, buddy.
Yes, certainly. Good to
Do we
be
got
back.
anything to get to? Or you want to do Curb? You want to do like 20 minutes of Curb?
I'm actually excited.
We
We
have
actually
anything to
have
get to?
we have a lot.
We
of
have
stuff.
some news?
We have a lot of news.
Really?
We have a lot to get to. As a matter
I mean,
of
we
fact.
had the voice and I did a football meat sandwich yesterday because of all the stuff that was going on.
I know. I'm
and
sad
then
I
more
missed the show.
things-
That's a fun.
No, you had
I know.
a very
Unfortunately,
appropriate
at a funeral
place.
for my good friend David Morris's father. So
Yeah.
very sad day. But here now, and yeah, obviously that's a fun one there. This is a fun time of the year.
It's a weird time. So I started the show with this yesterday. Like, understand where we do this show and that we have to say things like reportedly because this is where it is. So nothing is official until Wednesday at 4.
That's right.
Now, I think this isn't reportedly. I just think this is stupid.
Okay.
That you have legal tampering where these deals are being done, agents are giving it to the people who break the news, and the teams are supposed to not do anything. And it's like business, the league is going nuts right now, and you can't do it officially until Wednesday. Just start it Sunday at midnight or whatever. Like, just start it then so that we can just all go at the same time. What's the point of this?
It should just be this is it.
This is it. This is free agency. Why do they do this?
It's only been maybe one time. I want to say, was it LaShawn McCoy? Who was the running back that signed somewhere and then it changed?
I think it was McCoy.
Yeah, so it doesn't happen
Almost
often.
never.
Right.
And
So
it's
just-
like, what's the point? Like,
Right.
just make this free agency.
Just make it free agency. And by the way, it's been a big, quite a bit has happened even just on our drive over here as we.
What did I miss on the way over here?
Derrick Henry
Oh, I did see that. Yeah, Derrick Henry to the Ravens. I was tracking down when you get I had ordered some components for NBC's lacrosse stuff, and 2 of the components came already, and I was waiting on the 3rd. And you get the confirmation from FedEx that says your package was delivered, and you go to the front door and you go, no, not delivered.
Don't have it.
And they say, well, look around, and it's not here. I'm telling you. So then you go to their thing and you see a picture of a front door with the lacrosse shaft in front of the front door, and you say, well, that's not my front door. That, in fact, is not my front door. Now, the great people at Dick's Sporting Goods were quick to send me another one, but that won't be here until next week sometime. Meantime,
did you recognize the door? Wasn't even in your neighborhood?
Not even in my neighborhood. No. Not even in the neighborhood.
That's outrageous.
So
I had a FedEx scare the other day.
I don't know.
I had ordered some wine, and I always have it just held.
Yeah, smart.
Because otherwise,
it's a nightmare timing it.
So when it gets held, I often get, okay, it's going to the location. It's there, ready for pickup, and then you can come pick it up.
Yeah.
Well, this time they sent me a text that said, ready for pickup, and then 2 seconds later, your package has been picked up and signed for by
Not you.
D.O. Stricker.
D.O. Stricker?
And I'm like,
not me. That's not me.
I was like, that's not me, and this is, I don't think I call
a big
it.
shipment.
Hey,
Yeah.
yes, this is valued. These are valued goods.
Yeah, this isn't a mesh for a lacrosse head.
No.
No.
So I call FedEx, and they're like, no, it was delivered. Somebody, you signed for it. I was like, yeah, but I didn't sign for it. That's not me.
That's right.
She's like, oh, well, it says here it's delivered to your house. Said I'm at my house. There's no package here.
That's right.
Okay. Oh, well, I guess we'll look into it. So I'm like, you know what? Forget it. I hop in my car. The FedEx location is 2 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
And I am like hauling.
Yeah.
Because I want to catch D.O. Stricker in the parking lot.
You want to see what's going on.
Yeah.
He's got a big box.
He's got his big, yeah.
It's heavy.
He's got to have, right.
Yeah.
So I get in there and I walk in and I'm like, hey. And they know me because I said a lot of stuff there.
I've seen you.
And I was like, I just got a thing that said that my wine was signed for by somebody else.
Yeah.
And it's been picked up. And they were like, oh my God. But then I looked and I saw that my package was there. So I'm like, oh, so then I calmed down immediately.
There you
so
go.
D.O. Stricker was the guy who worked there.
Signing for it to be received.
Yes, which is, they
Never
communicated
happens.
that
very poorly.
very poorly.
Poor D.O. Stricker. You were there to fight the guy potentially over wine, and he's just an employee.
Yeah.
Signing
and
for
he's
your
my
goods.
guy. So now me and D.O. Stricker, we're good.
No names, please, but that wine that you recommended to me last week off air was delivered over the weekend. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. That stuff was
Baby
very good.
Saxum, dude.
That was very
No,
we don't need to run
Nobody
on
will
anything.
get they won't know what that
No
means.
runs on anything.
No,
but
because
wow.
I want it. No, I don't.
No, it was.
By the way, I've only told you, and I think my dad. Shame on me.
Yeah, sad because you know what he could do.
And that's it. I won't talk about that one because the TSO stands for till sold out.
Yeah.
No, want in stock.
That's-
I want it when I can get when I want it.
That was very, very good.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you liked it.
Really good. Yeah,
Even,
Juan enjoyed it as well.
yeah,
Very much enjoyed it. Yeah, it was delicious.
They're
Very
big.
good. They're big, robust.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
I
our
them.
like what we've done so far.
What a professional segue out of you. How do you want to do this? Because we did a lot. There was a lot that happened over the weekend that you haven't had a chance to weigh in on. We have the news of the day. We have news since we got off because yesterday when we got off the show, we
Do you
had
want to treat me like I'm a guest?
linebacker exodus, and we've
so you can
kind of
steer. You want to steer the
I think
show?
maybe we should because there's all of this stuff that has
There's a
happened.
ton of stuff.
There's a myriad things that have happened. So let's just
a
start
veritable
here.
cornucopia. A
Well
plethora.
put. Well put. Let's just start here.
Okay.
Big picture. Nathan Zagura, Cleveland Browns. What are you, vice president of talking? Can I make you that?
Sure.
Vice president media personality.
VPOT, vice president talking.
Vice president of media.
Sure.
Cleveland
VPOM.
Browns. Yeah, I like that.
Thank you.
All right.
Take
You're
it.
a VP now.
Sweet.
How close to their intended plan have they gotten so far with what they've done in free agency?
I think very. I think that there's probably still a couple of things that they want to do, but I think very. I think Jerry Jeudy to kick things off for a 5th and a 6th. They were very excited about it. It reminds them a little bit of what they did with Amari, South Florida guy, went to Alabama, idolized Amari Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
So they got a younger Amari Cooper in their mind, which would be great if that's what this turns out to be. So that was part one. Re-signing Za'Darius was a very high priority. Check on that. They did obviously would have loved to have kept Awak and Taki, but also thought maybe it would be good for that linebacker room has been so the same that maybe, you could have a little turnover, perhaps find a more specific upgrade. And I think in Jordan Hicks, you have a linebacker who's considered to be one of the best coverage linebackers in the league. He is a leader as well.
Yeah.
Played for Jim Schwartz in Philadelphia, was with Kwesi last year, so I know that they're able to say, all right, what are your thoughts here? He was a guy that was on the Browns' radar actually a couple of years ago.
Well, he's an Ohioan. He's a Lakota West kid. He was a
Correct.
5-star linebacker out of the Cincinnati area. He went to Texas
Over
instead of
Ohio
Ohio State.
Yep.
But was a stud.
S gave me that rundown earlier.
Oh, you?
today. Yeah.
I bet you did. That was a big recruiting
Battle.
miss that
Yeah.
Ohio State wasn't able to land him because usually 5-star linebackers in Ohio they land. So he's been on the radar for people in this state for a very, very long time.
So they're excited to get him. They think that he is a guy that next to JOK that can be very good. I still think there's probably another linebacker that needs to be added to that room.
Seems like it,
because right now you're at Jordan Hicks, JOK, Tony Fields, Mahmoud Diabate, Charlie Thomas. So you need to add another linebacker and maybe even another kind of special teams guy. Matthew Adams, I believe, is still out there. Kunashik, guys like that. So I think they'll do some work there. The defensive tackle, you bring back Maurice Hurst. I think that they want to do more there. I think, Shelby certainly could come back. I think a guy like Sheldon Rankins would be interesting. So I think there's some work on the defensive tackle spot as well. They wanted to get a backup. Jameis Winston is somebody that they identified as, somebody who probably is, certainly a top 32 quarterback on the planet. But because of the way the league is now, you either have to be really good to stay as a starter or you have to be really bad.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people want somebody who's bad to help them get draft picks. But when you're in that kind of, we'll call it, quarterback 20 to 28 range,
Yeah.
you're too good to be bad and too bad to be good, enough to be somebody say handing you the keys as starter, I guess, unless you're Sam Darnold. But we'll to get that in a second.
It's just it's been a strange thing.
That is, I
Gardner
guarantee.
Minshew, by the way.
I don't mind Minshew.
No, but I'm like he's in the same boat with Winston,
Totally.
and he's going to go starting for the Raiders.
He's been a little bit more productive of late when given opportunities.
But as
his numbers or stats. Remember how surprisingly good his stats are?
His stats are surprisingly good, but there's also a very specific thing that he struggles with.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there's that part
Of course.
So
I think they felt like this roster is so loaded. You've got Deshaun coming off an injury, and here's the thing that I don't think people remember as well. DTR's coming off an injury.
yeah.
That they wanted to have a backup in here that they thought was kind of in that range, and Jameis said his very best was the number 1 overall pick, right? Was one of the most famous college quarterbacks of all time.
Won the Heisman.
Yeah, good and bad reasons.
Yeah.
He has been prolific, led the league in passing at times. He has also led the league in interceptions and pick sixes. In fact, he led the league in passing, and interceptions in the same year when he threw for 5,109 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 30 picks, which crazily is the last time he was a starting quarterback.
No, and you and I were such big fans of him, and we couldn't understand
Totally.
why people wouldn't kick the tires on him as a starter over the last few years, and they haven't. And he elected to stay in New Orleans last year as the backup to Carr, and this is where he is at his career at this point. The other thing about him is it's not lost on me that the things that Jameis does well are very similar, honestly, with the things that Joe Flacco did well. Jameis throws a beautiful deep ball. He will air the ball out.
Yep.
Mike Evans had some of his most prolific years with Jameis Winston running in straight lines and catching deep balls. And so that is very similar to what Joe did here and the success that Joe had here in Jameis. He's obviously much, much younger, potentially more there. I think it's a good point you bring up in terms of not only Deshaun is – You're optimistic that he's on track, and we asked AB, and we had Kevin.
I had a schedule,
and I had a schedule, all of those things. But it's a major shoulder issue, is what he had a surgery for.
Yep.
So that there's that part of it, and when you look at everything else that was done here, it has all very clearly been done with the notion of we are a player or a play or two, maybe both, away from trying to be able to contend with Kansas City. That's the job. Like even the Nyheim Hines signing, reportedly, from Buffalo, bringing him into the mix. So that addresses some special team stuff. And also, one thing I said yesterday, we have got to be more dangerous. Nyheim Hines is dangerous. That checks that box. Jerry Jeudy is dangerous. Weapons. You have to have weapons. You got some more weapons.
You're right. Yeah, and Jameis, just to kind of tie a ribbon on him, 6-4 as a starter in New Orleans, 60% completions, 20 touchdowns, 11 picks, quarterback rating of 88. So played better once he came to the Saints and clearly showed an ability to take better care of the football than he had demonstrated perhaps earlier in his career with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Nyheim Hines is – so I think that it's interesting. One of the things that's shocked me is that I think a lot of people or a lot of our fans, it seemed like, wanted us to sign, one of these running backs that got like 3 years
Saquon
for
Barkley.
$24 million.
Yeah.
So
Josh Jacobs.
Right. So it's a challenge, to be fair, to go into a season as an organization and not quite be sure when or what Nick Chubb, when he returns, and what necessarily he is coming off of a very, very big injury.
Yeah.
And you wanted to help out the running back room, but I go and point out last year our running backs gave us basically 2,000 total yards and basically 20 touchdowns. So they were quite productive. I think that we are clearly in a transition to a more quarterback-centric, like just spread them out, throw the football offense, which isn't to minimize the impact of a running back. But when you're signing one, a guy like Nyheim Hines makes a lot of sense, and I'll tell you my opinion as to why. He can be an explosive runner. The last season that we really saw him run the ball, 2021, averaged 4.9 yards a carry. He is a very good pass catcher out of the backfield. He's got 4 seasons with with at least 57 targets. He's got 4 seasons with 40 or more catches. He scored 8 receiving touchdowns for his career. And he is an excellent kick returner. So when Nick Chubb comes back, whoever it was that you signed in this role is probably going to ultimately then be your 4th running back. So they got to be able to do something.
Yeah.
So Nyheim Hines is like, okay, well, if Nick Chubb comes back at his full speed and full strength, and you got Jerome Ford, and you've got Pierre Strong, who I can tell you we are very high on inside this building, and in fact, many people think that the offense that we're moving towards will suit him very well. He's an explosive player. That you have to be able to do something else, and the something else, obviously, that Nyheim Hines can do is return kicks at a very, very high level. He's got 2 kick return touchdowns in 2022, 2 punt return touchdowns back in 2019 with the Colts. So this is a guy who can do that. And everybody remembers famously that Nyheim Hines is the one who, after the scary DeMar Hamlin incident, that next Buffalo game, he ran that opening kickoff back for a touchdown.
Yeah, and what I remember him from is there was a couple of years ago that he had a great run with Indy, and it was like I had him early in fantasy, and he kind of helped pull you along. He had a great fantasy run there. Yeah, I think. Okay, what do we got here, Gibby?
Jameis talking with Josina Anderson just a few minutes
All right,
ago.
here's your quote. Hello, Gibby, by the way. Happy travels. Good to have you back.
Good to have him back. I was expecting more Stewart Sink. It's an even dome. I was a little disappointed by that.
That's great. It's got a nice golden hue to it.
Hey, I got to take a little more I got to take care of it a little bit better.
Oh, you look
Yeah,
good.
The skin doc
you
was
look
like, you got to be stuffy and dumb.
Yeah. Get one of those. I always those floppy hats look great.
I have a floppy hat.
Yeah, they're great.
That's why it's not as crazy.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
All right, this is a quote from Jameis. Yes, I still envision myself as a starter. However, the Lord has also called me to lead by impacting and increasing the men who are around me, having the opportunity to work with Deshaun. And then do you have the continuing of that?
I do.
Please.
And
Pick it up from
help him be the best he possibly can be is my main mission. Now, if Deshaun has to heal up for whatever reason and I have to take a few games off of him, I'm going to be ready to do that. But I have to fulfill God's purpose first before my own heart's desire, because ultimately I desire to win some Super Bowls, and this roster that Cleveland got looks like they can do it.
There you go. There's Jameis Winston.
Did you not have the full quote, or you?
I only had the first half of the quote.
I
I truly did.
thought,
It
I
ended
thought
up
maybe you didn't
working
want to
out.
hear him.
The
hear
rest
how
of
he
it-
wanted to help Deshaun.
The rest of it was great too.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that it worked out the way that it did, but that was not the intent. I only had the first part of the quote, so that was it.
Listen, what you want out of a backup is that willingness right there to help your starter be the best that he can be, and I think that's obviously a good initial statement there from Jameis, and I think those two will be able to relate to each other a little bit in terms of having incredibly high profiles, dealing with some significant issues, and trying to overcome them.
There is going to be, and we do have to acknowledge, there's going to be a great deal of the fan base that's going to say, why not Joe Flacco?
Yeah.
How did that not happen? What are your thoughts on where there wasn't a marriage there? Joe was adamant. He was public about wanting to come back if that were the opportunity. It appears that all the starting jobs have dried up.
Yep. I think that Joe Flacco, and I would have loved to have Joe Flacco back. I love Joe Flacco.
Yep.
I think that Joe Flacco probably, through no fault of his own, but through the power of what he did last year, probably would put our fan base and our team potentially in a conundrum where at home, if our quarterback threw an incomplete pass, even if he was playing well, you might hear a lot of Joe Flacco chants. Guy became incredibly popular here.
Yes, he did.
So I wonder if that has, and if that's got something to do with it. I think the other way to look at it is Joe Flacco is 39, will turn 40 in the season. Jameis does a lot of things similarly to him, and in terms of his ability to hit big plays, he can probably make a few more plays with his feet than perhaps Joe Flacco can. Is going to be very comfortable running this style of an offense that we're putting in. And he's a lot younger.
The second one you said is really critical, I think, in that he is very comfortable out of a shotgun.
Yes.
The offense that we're going to go to, this primarily spread it out, throw it around. He's been doing that since his time at FSU. So he did that in Tampa. Like, Joe was the perfect quarterback for the offense we ran last year.
I think that's right.
This is a different offense
Yes.
going to be going forward. So in addition to that, I don't want to bury the lead here, because I think the lead of this, all of this, and then we got to say some goodbyes to some great friends of the program, including Sione Taka, who's just one of our all-time
My
favorites.
buddy Kenny is he's despondent. People have been checking on him. I'm sad. And the thing that's so hard that I don't know if people realize this in this league is that they're going to the Patriots. We don't play the Patriots this year.
Yeah.
AWOC's going to the Dolphins. We don't play the Dolphins this year. And so guys that you form these great relationships with, there's still ways, obviously, I'll be in touch with them, but you don't really get to say that face-to-face goodbye.
Well, I was thinking, since Talk was drafted, he's been on the show more than anybody else, I would say. Is that fair, Gibby? Since we drafted Taki, that he's been in that run? He was on a couple times a year.
top five.
Certainly top five.
He's definitely a top
for
five.
sure.
We did the very first interview with him. We interviewed him usually a couple of times a year every year. I couldn't think of anybody else during his tenure.
And he was always on the radio. Whenever we
on.
needed somebody for a preview show, coach show.
I mean, he was omnipresent
Yes.
around.
And he's about to have his first child.
Yeah.
He's the best, man. He is a heck of a human being, and certainly very, very sad to see him go. Very sad to see him go. But I'm at the same time happy for him, because he went out and probably made more money than maybe some people were expecting. You look at
linebackers and running backs throughout the league made more money than I think people were expecting.
Yeah, Tack 2 years, $7 million. Fantastic for him. They got Jacoby Brissett there as well with the New England Patriots. So some of our favorite guys are now Patriots with AVP and Elliott Wolf.
Well,
Remember Elliott Wolf drafted Sione
He told us
Takitaki.
that story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I just that you think of that final connected piece.
And isn't Alonzo with them too?
He is.
Yeah.
Well, we had. I remember Elliot sitting in here and tell us the story of scouting talk.
Yeah, how much he loved him.
And how much he loved him. So that was
It's not a surprise.
that was a great story that all came through. And then AWOC's leadership the last 3 years has just been incredible and a great player as well.
Yeah.
And will certainly be missed. So that's another one and he's another one of those guys that was around all the time that
Absolutely.
that was certainly omnipresent. Want to get an elaboration on the Jerry Jeudy deal over the weekend. So last week you and I basically lined this out, and we've talked about Jerry Jeudy for a long time as a possible acquisition. Andrew Berry's liked him for a long time. But this is exactly what this front office is prepared to do. When we had AB on at the Combine, they're 3 years out on their cap, but they also know your cap. And when there is a chance of a organization either being vulnerable or being undecided on what to do in terms of compensation, we will paratroop in and scoop and score. You did it last year with Elijah Moore. You mentioned Amari Cooper as well, and now you do it with Jerry Jeudy, who, coming out of Bama, was as crisp as you can be. It's been uneven in Denver. They've had a lot of uneven quarterback play, though, in Denver as well. But the upside is enormous with him.
Last 2 seasons, and this is something that might surprise people, last 2 seasons, Jerry Jeudy's averaging about 9.3 yards per target and about 14.5 yards per catch. 9.3 yards per target is an elite number.
Yeah.
So he's the most targets he's ever had in a season, 100. Last year, 87 targets, 54 catches, 758 yards, 2 touchdowns. He is a very good route runner. He is a good down-the-field receiver. He has a great ability to make big plays. And I think that this is one of those, you're getting somebody who probably through no fault of his own, but was diminished in terms of what you got out of him due to the quarterback play and situations around him.
Yep.
You're getting him in a situation where he's 24. He's going to turn 25 this year. He is still very young.
Yep.
He loves Amari Cooper, so he's going to be playing in some ways with his idol. Mm-hmm. I read a story, I don't know if you might know if this is true or not, but that's why he went to Alabama.
Jim told that story yesterday on the show. He had, of course, the Voice had done the research and found the story where, that Jerry Jeudy went to Bama. He idolized Amari Cooper, loved him, and that's why he ended up there. And I also think because there were the stuff with Steve Smith on the sidelines last year. There's been some off stuff.
Yep.
And all of a sudden you're behind a guy you idolize who's also the ultimate professional. It's the best possible path for career resuscitation.
And you're in a career year, and you're going to be in an offense that's going to be spreading it out and letting you run. You're going to get a lot of one-on-one matchups. You're going to have an excellent, as we hope, quarterback in Deshaun Watson getting you the football. This is all set up for Jerry Jeudy to be a trade where the Browns bring in Jerry Jeudy, and he becomes the succession plan for Amari Cooper. I think this year it's going to be great. You're going to be able to have – now all of a sudden Elijah's your 3.
Yeah.
When Nick comes back, if he's, let's just say 80% of what he was, and if anybody can be 100%, it will be Nick Chubb. But you're talking about a team that all of a sudden is going to trot out in 11 personnel, Amari, Jeudy, Elijah Moore, Chief, and Nick Chubb.
Yeah. That's a lot going on.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. No, and it's one of those ones where it's a 5 and a 6, and you had two 5s, 2 6s. So it's a nothing give back.
No, you're giving right.
It's a nothing give back.
Here's the thing. Will it work out? I don't know. Certainly would love it to. I think it's got a good chance to work out, but there's no risk.
There's
no risk.
No, it's nothing.
So it's pure upside.
All upside. We've seen this front office be very nimble in these situations before, and this is another example of it.
Now, my guess is they will try to extend him now.
Yeah.
My guess is he will want to wait.
Yeah.
So if you can, though, you have a chance, I think, probably to lock him in at what will look like a very, very good deal.
Yeah.
In the
maybe
near term.
maybe a shorty works. Maybe we do a short-term
like a
thing.
2-year or 3-year,
something like that where it works out. So I think we got through all of the things we need to get through from a.
One other Browns thing, Mike Ford was the only other person who left that we didn't mention.
Oh, that's right.
Going to the Texans. A+ special teams player. solid fill-in cornerback. We don't beat the Ravens without the way that he played in that game in Baltimore. And he was a beloved teammate. And I think that's the hardest part about it is the three names that we know that have departed were all beloved teammates. Anthony Walker, Sione Takitaki, and Mike Ford. Now, Jordan Hicks was the captain in Minnesota and is a leader, that kind of a guy.
Yeah.
So my guess is that, he's going to be able to step into that void in the linebacker room. But certainly you've lost three guys that were really, really well liked, and two of whom were here for a long, long time and made an indelible imprint on this organization.
I'm going to read this just from the statement in regard to the other big announcement today. Cleveland is home to several WWE superstars, including Logan Paul, The Miz, and Johnny Gargano. Your name not named, you're not mentioned. You're prominent in this community. Marks the first time that SummerSlam will be held in Cleveland since August of '96. Why are you not on here?
Because it says several WWE superstars.
But you're a prominent wrestling personality.
I'm a part-time AIW commentator.
Same.
Feels
So
similar.
what? Come
Yeah.
on. You're going to be this.
Yeah.
It's official. We're going to host SummerSlam. It's August 3rd at Cleveland Browns Stadium. WWE will take over the city. Stacked schedule. Friday Night SmackDown from Rocket Mortgage on August 2nd, and a variety of fan and community events in the days leading up to and after.
It's going to be unbelievable.
So then I just, I've been back for half a day and decided to try to ruin Zagura's week already. I was like, are we going to be at the Greenbrier at that point?
I won't be.
Oh, that's right. You will be.
Not me.
You will be.
I'll be here for Summerfest.
Well, I don't know. As the vice president of, what did I name you? Vice president of talking?
Broadcasting. I
Broadcasting,
mean, if you want to go
talking.
down that road.
I think I said vice president of media.
I think
talking.
it's important for me to be at the biggest event to be held in downtown Cleveland.
Browns trading camp
Potentially
out
ever.
at
Well, Billy and
Virginia.
Rod will have something to say about that. I mean,
Billy and Rod.
Come on.
2024.
Come on. They're going to have something to say about that. So you got the Stones, SummerSlam, and Billy and Rod all in a couple of months.
You'll be able to get more people in for SummerSlam.
It's multiple days, but it's not the first and only time it's ever happened. There will be another SummerSlam.
For sure.
There's never been a Billy and Rod before.
Yeah.
may never be another one.
May never not. It's exactly right. May never happen again. That's
one
a
night
one-off.
only.
It's one night only.
Yep.
That's the way that goes. Is it possible the great one could be there?
I think it's very possible, and I think he could be involved in a big match.
Yeah. What are you going to do if you're down at Greenbrier?
I will be at SummerSlam. That's not even not worried about
I'm
it.
gonna send
I'll
this
take
to
that
top
day. I'll
men.
be at SummerSlam, and I hope to be. Are
Are you going to take your nephew,
I
who
hope
you're
to
now
be in
getting
the-
Vicks with?
I would if he wants to come. By the way, I've got a Vic with all of them now.
No, I know they were all excited because where the hell? Oh, I was getting groceries.
Yeah.
I get groceries, and they were all excited. We got a Vic with Mr. Z. Both NBC and
Oh yeah,
BZ.
you missed it. You missed
Tracking
Bootsy's first Vic, Gibbe. It was a moment.
Did I send you the
I
video
saw
of
the
it?
video.
The video?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was
I saw
first
the
Vic.
video.
That was unbelievable.
It was epic. No,
Oh,
but
there
come
you
on,
go.
this is SummerSlam. This is
Yeah.
a big deal.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
great.
it is possible. My guess is there are a lot of guys on the team that are going to want to be at SummerSlam.
I'm
The
sure they're
season
going
will
to,
have
but
started.
that's the problem.
Maybe that's why they're doing it August 3rd,
Maybe before we go
before it's like
or before
crazy.
I don't know. Do we know when we're going to be down there? Are those dates released yet?
I mean,
What if you fly down there the 3rd?
no, we would.
You already
if
be
anything,
there?
we
It would
could
be
coming
it would be
back.
the last day that we're
Oh, or it could be coming on the backside of
it
it.
could be on the backside of it. My guess is that would be the day that we could maybe we'd go Friday and come back Saturday because I get the Chief's going to want to be there. There's no doubt.
Yeah. All right. So there you go.
Last
Lots
time
of
Raw
news.
was here, Chief was there, Zadarius was there, Mo
Yeah.
Hurst was there. There were a lot of people. There were a lot of guys on this team there.
It wasn't training camp though.
It's not.
Yeah.
I think it was season.
Probably wasn't during practice though.
It was Monday
or
night.
during. Yeah. Not like this would be similar to like during a road trip, like coming back. Like if you played Monday night, like if it'd be more like SmackDown. Like if you flew west,
you
let's
get
say
the-
the team flew west to play on the West Coast on a Thursday, like you guys sometimes do when you do like your little vacation, and you fly out there on a Thursday, and then the guys are like, actually, we're gonna stay. I'm gonna go to SmackDown, and we're gonna fly out the next day.
No, I just think you go in early Saturday morning, and you got Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Saturday morning walk through the final practice like they did last year.
Then
You're on a plane by 2. You're
Yeah.
back
So
here
we
by
came home
3.
on a Sunday.
You're back here. Well, but we're going to change. We're going to change that.
You got it. Well, you know people as the vice president of talking.
Boy,
you know
he.
people.
I do.
All right. Where do the Browns go here in free agency? We'll get to that. We'll also make sense of. I mean, there's been a billion moves in the NFL. The quarterback thing is kind of done at this point. So it's been a wild 48 hours in the league. We're off and running. Listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Are you tired of worrying about your roof or your siding? Well, get some peace of mind by upgrading with Renew Home Exteriors. The Renew Home Exteriors lifetime warranty on roofing and siding products offers durability and protection that you can trust. That's the best part. No money down, no payments, no interest, 24 months. Improving your home has never been easier. Mention ESPN to receive an exclusive $2,000 off your upgrade. Enjoy peace of mind with a new roof, siding, Renew Home Exteriors. Superior products and superior service. Visit renewestimates.com to book today. All right. We've gone over what we've done. Now what? You mentioned there's a couple of things. I mean, just from a roster standpoint, you can kind of do the math on where you need some defensive tackles. You need some linebackers now. You have the draft to work with. Andrew Berry has always approached the draft. This is how it appears that he always wants to approach the draft, that he doesn't have to have a position of need. And then it's more just a position of best guy, best spot, let's go. The last one where they had to was Jed with Wills at tackle. You knew you were going to draft a tackle. But other than that, there's various position groupings that you can go with. So knowing what we reportedly know now from a roster standpoint, how do you see them operate over the next couple of days and weeks?
All right, well, let's just kind of go through it
Let's do it.
quickly. We'll go through it. We'll talk it out. All right, quarterback. Deshaun, Jameis, DTR, so 3. That feels set.
Yep.
Running back, Nick Chubb, don't know when he's going to be back. Jerome Ford, Pierre Strong, Nyheim Hines. That feels pretty set to me. Wide receiver, Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, David Bell, and then maybe just a pure fly guy for 10 plays a game. What Marquise was supposed to be, just a straight burner, right? So that could be somebody that's drafted, or it could be a free agent, like a McCole Hardman. It could anybody, just a run guy, just go run. Mm-hmm. Tight end, you've got David Njoku, you've got Jordan Akins, you got Zaire Mitchell-Payton. My guess is you could still add one tight end, and that could be, I think, either you have a veteran in Akins and you have Chiefs a veteran. So if it was a rookie, that wouldn't surprise me if there's a rookie that they like.
Yep.
All right, offensive tackle, you've got Jed Wills, Jack Conklin, DeJuan Jones, James Hudson. I think that's
a lot of tackles, bud.
I think offensive tackle, like right now, if you're asking me right now, would it surprise me if we took an offensive tackle in the second round? I would say no. And people might say, wait a second, what do you mean? I think the only person in your tackle room that has a secure future in this organization is DeJuan Jones.
Yeah.
So you could be without one of Jed Wills or Jack Conklin next year. You could be without both of Jed Wills or Jack Conklin next year. And James Hudson has shown that he's a serviceable backup, but if you can upgrade there, I think that you probably would want to. Mm-hmm. So I think another offensive tackle. Now, that could be a vet, or that could be, I think, an early second, third draft pick. I think could go there. Guard, you have got Wyatt, Joel. My guess is you bring back like a Michael Dunn.
They did, in fact, reportedly bring him back.
They did.
Yeah. That just happened in the last 5 minutes.
Well, how about that?
Well, how about it? This is according to his agent. So I don't even know if we have to say reportedly.
David Canner?
When the agent is saying it.
Yeah. Well, so you got Wyatt Teller, Joel Bitonio, Michael Dunn. And then like Luke Whippler showed that he could play here.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought did a pretty good job. So maybe a guard in the draft, maybe. I don't know. Center, you got Ethan Posick, Whippler. Could Nick Harris could come back and fill all this. So I think you're pretty good there. Defensive end, I think you're
done.
Done. Yep. You've got
Alex
5
Wright
again.
showed you. Obo.
Yep. You got Miles. You got Zadarius. You got Obo. You got Alex Wright. And you've got Isaiah McGuire, who flashed, definitely. And I think as Isaiah McGuire's body matures, he can maybe do in year 2 what Alex Wright did in year 1. Talking to some people, they thought actually he was ahead of Alex Wright after his first season. And we saw the huge jump Alex Wright made in year 2. So defensive end's done. Boom, done. Defensive tackle, right now we've got Dalvin Tomlinson, Maurice Hurst, and Siaki Ika. Definitely 1 to 2 more. And this could be a vet and a draft pick. Could be both, right? I mean, I could see a defense tackle going with the early pick as well.
Yep.
Linebackers, as we sit right now, we've got JOK, we've got Jordan Hicks, we've got Tony Fields, we've got Mahmoud Diabate, we've got Charlie Thomas, who they do like. Those are last year's undrafted. So I think maybe one vet who's a special teams guy, like maybe Matt Adams comes back, and then you could draft a rookie as well. But you got 3 youngish guys. Corner.
Fully loaded.
Yeah, so
It's a lot. I mean,
I can think of my top 4. I don't know really what I have beyond that. You got Denzel, you've got MJ, you've got Greg, and you've got Cam Mitchell.
Yeah, but the other thing is like at this point, that's all you need to be. You know, you got the draft. You're going to have the bottom of free agency. You're going to have undrafted guys. Like you can.
Yeah, and we're very good at that.
Very, very good at that.
Safety, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if they had one more safety, but nothing. Maybe Rodney McLeod comes back, something very cheap, veteran minimum, because you've got Delpit, Juan Thornhill, DeAnthony Bell, who showed that he can play. And let me tell you something, they are high on Ronnie Hickman in this organization. Kicker is D-Hop. Punter is still to be determined because Bajorka is a free agent. I think you'd love to have him back. And then your long snapper is Charlie Hewlett. And right now your return specialist, to me, looks like Naeem Hines. So that's kind of where you are right now.
Yeah, you got to be right at your number. I mean, there's the tackles is a room. Z is counting it up.
That's 25 on offense right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got I think 4 or 5 spots to play with offensively. Tight end, if you count a tight end, and you're going to add some more on the defense. Defensive tackle, linebacker, defensive back.
Yeah. So that's where you stand.
You're in a good spot.
In a very good spot. The league has been nuts. You didn't get a chance to weigh in on a lot of this stuff. Lots of stuff I want to run by you. The Ravens and the Bengals both changed their running back situation in the last 24 hours. We'll get to all of that, see how it stacks up. You haven't even had a chance to weigh in on Russ to the Steelers. We haven't done that yet, so we have a lot to get to. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Don't miss Billy Joel, Rod Stewart together for the first time ever. It's Friday, September 13th. It's at Cleveland
Don't
Browns
you dare.
Stadium. Tickets are on sale right now. Visit clevelandbrownsstadium.com/Billy and Rod 2024.
Billy and Rod 2024. One night only.
It's Billy Joel, Rod Stewart. It's one night only. Derrick Henry to the Ravens, 2 years, up to $20 million on that. The Bengals ended up trading Joe Mixon today to Houston instead of, as previously they were going to release him, but they ended up trading him after they had signed Zach Moss yesterday. So those two things in the division.
Zach Moss was good this year with the Colts, but I don't know that he's a full-time every down back. They like Chase Brown. Is that his name, right? Chase Brown from Illinois?
Yeah, from Illinois.
So that's interesting to me. The running backs and the contracts they got seemed so counter to what we had been hearing or thinking or learning about the position, and it's really out of. I think the Packers actually have a pretty solid roster right now, but to sign Jacobs, release Aaron Jones, I mean, if you're Minnesota, you just land into Aaron Jones easy. That feels pretty good. Now the Sam Darnold piece of it, that's a little bit different. That to me says that Kyle and Kevin O'Connell have a good relationship.
There you go.
The Kyle is like, nah, dude, he can play.
There's no question. That's as soon as I saw that happen. Look, they wanted to have Cousins back.
And Kwesi has ties to the Niners. He worked with the Niners when he came here.
Absolutely. They wanted to bring Cousins back. Once Cousins goes to Atlanta. Now, I think you had left at the Combine when we had the conversation with Chris Rose about Atlanta. Yeah, that was me and Chris. So I can't remember if it was on air or off, but we were talking about Fields to Atlanta. And he says – and he knew somebody with the Rams, and he's like, no, they're not going to want that. Like, they're going to want the pinpoint guy. They're going to want it's open, throw it there. That's Cousins. And so it was at that point that you said, well, yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. Like, Arthur Blank's running out of patience. They've got a ton of weaponry. All of a sudden, Cousins is available because up until that point, the Vikings, all of their talking was, we want Cousins back.
Yep.
And I had a feeling that I think that was legitimate. I don't think that was smoke, that they probably did want Cousins back, not at that money. Not at $90 million guaranteed. I'm sure they didn't want him back at that.
Nobody has maneuvered financially better than Kirk Cousins has in the NFL.
It's upwards of $250 million in career earnings before this deal.
Yeah.
He's crushed it. And the crazy thing about him is, he's so great on that quarterback show on Netflix. He's so great. At no point do I ever feel like, at any point in his career, have I ever said, well, you can go win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. Never felt like that. He always feels like he's somewhere ranked between 8th and 14th in quarterback, but that's good. That saves jobs. That saves coaches.
I think they're the favorite.
That makes you a playoff team. That makes them absolutely a playoff team.
They're
the favorite in the South for sure. For sure. And in the NFC, they got a very good defense. They got a ton of weapons, and he will do what Zach Robinson wants. He'll execute that offense that he's been executing under O'Connell, and same one he ran in Washington when he was young. It checks every box for them.
He's gonna, absolutely, and they're gonna be good. And don't they still pick 8th?
Yes.
So they could pick one of those 3 receivers.
Oh yeah, they could get Rome Duzier or the kid from LSU, the neighbor's kid from LSU. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so they get that. They have that. London, Pitts, Bijan.
Yeah.
Cousins.
Yeah, that's a problem.
They're gonna be just fine. I like that team a lot. By the way, congrats. I don't know if I'm sure you guys talked about it yesterday, but congrats to Baker.
We did
on his deal. That's an awesome deal for him. And yeah, good for him. There 2 years ago, you thought he might be like out of the league.
Well, I said this to Jim yesterday. Like, it's a great credit to his intestinal fortitude that he survived being traded here for a bucket of balls to Carolina, that he was usurped there and then released, and then he had that great Thursday night for the Rams, and that rejuvenated him. Yeah. But then there were no starting jobs for him, so he had to go compete with Kyle Trask, wins that job. He actually had a year last year with them that mirrored his year here, the COVID year. I mean, it's almost exactly the same. It's 64%, 63%, 26-8, and 28-10. Like, it's almost a mirror season to the one that he had here when he had a very, very good year here. So, yeah, tremendous out of him for getting that thing locked up. I think the other big thing, and this categorize this under something dead wrong about, is Justin Fields is not going to start in the NFL next year. There's no more dance partners for him. There are no spots left unless it's a bargain basement Denver for a 6th-round pick situation.
Who is Minshew's in Denver?
Minshew's in Vegas.
In Vegas.
To start.
Who's in Denver?
Nobody right now. That's the only thing left, and we have Allbright on it at 2:30. We can ask him, but at the combine, the thinking with Fields was a day 2 pick and a day 3 pick, a 2 and a 4.
Yeah,
that ain't it. Now it's going to be a 5.
What's going on? He's better than
I don't
this.
understand. It reminds me very
Is he a
much of
bad
how you
guy?
and I were with Winston. Like, remember that year with Winston? We're like, he threw for 5,000 yards. I know he has interceptions. Why aren't people?
Is
what
he
are we
a bad
missing?
guy?
No, he wasn't at Ohio State at all. I have no idea. But it's crazy. So he's got no right now. It's only Denver. Everything else is locked up.
Right. So AFC East, we've got Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Tua, Jacoby Brissett
/ draft pick.
/pick with New England. AFC North, you've got
All done.
Burrow with your boy.
Yeah. Lamar.
Deshaun.
And Russ.
And Russ. The notion
You haven't even had a chance to weigh in on that yet.
the notion that anybody thought they were just gonna go with
I
I said it
even
was the
said-
dumbest thing ever.
Yesterday we had Jim on. I retold the story about when we had Brooke Pryor on, and Brooke was was reporting what she knew and what the organization had said.
Yeah.
And you at one point said, "Well, would you do that?"
I did.
And she goes, "No, I wouldn't. But that's what I think they're going to do." But they weren't. They were never going to do that. They're just too smart. They get Wilson on. You want to talk about a bucket of balls for about $1 million bucks. And I went over this with Jim yesterday, and it's funny when people talk about people. You did the stats on. We were doing in the break about the Gus Edwards stats, the rushing yards, like the rushing touchdowns. The same thing you could apply to Wilson. We've done it before on the show, but if he's 67, 68% passer, what he was last year in Denver, they were a playoff team with basically a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception. If they go to a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception,
be a problem.
they're going to be a problem. Now, he's checked down Charlie. He throws the most passes behind the line of scrimmage and within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage in the league last year.
Yes.
So that's going to frustrate Pickens, but he's not going to turn it over. He's going to be accurate, and that with that defense and their weaponry, it's a problem. Continue.
All right. AFC South is Trevor Lawrence, Anthony Richardson, C.J. Stroud, Will Levis. Is he that entrenched?
No, but I don't think that they would add Fields to that room. I think they would give Levis like a full go of it. Don't you think?
Yeah, AFC West, Mahomes, Herbert, Minshew. I can't believe the Raiders wouldn't take that.
That's what I thought. No, but they went Minshew instead.
So
that floored me.
Denver is open. NFC East, you've got Dak, Hurts.
Tommy's got Howell. Didn't they sign Mariota too? Howell, Mariota, and then they'll draft a quarterback.
Yeah. And
Dan
then,
Dimes.
Is he just – I mean, I guess they are stuck with him,
They
right?
paid him.
Yeah. So the NFC North, we've got
Caleb Williams.
Darnold.
Yep. Love.
Goff, Williams, Love.
Mm-hmm.
What if they trade out of the first pick and maybe they're keeping Fields?
Well, right, but even that they would have screwed up because the teams that potentially could have wanted that have now made other moves.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they should have done it last week at the Combine, or 2 weeks ago at the Combine.
So NFC South is Baker, Carr, Cousins,
And Young.
and Bryce Young.
Yep.
And then the NFC West is Purdy, Stafford,
Kyler.
and Geno Smith.
Yeah. So
I could see Seattle bringing
that's
in.
funny. I said Seattle too. I could see Seattle bringing him in. I could see Denver on a let's kick the tires, but he doesn't fit with what Sean Payton would want, I don't think, at all.
Well, I've got some news for you that won't make you happy.
Oh, God, Gibby.
Patrick Queen to the Squealers.
Oh, for God's sakes.
3 years, $41 million.
Drew's live reaction right there when you said that.
Was
Drew
it on
went like he
screen?
went. Yes, it was on screen.
Oh, man.
There he is.
There
Drew,
it is.
that was a great reaction.
Schefter through Marcus Spears.
The Steelers are listen. We're in the best division in football. It's just-
Everybody in this division knows that all of their teams are in their prime and they have to go right now. That's it. Every one of the
Sucks.
teams in this division are in their prime. Their rosters are in their prime. They are all in. We have got to track down Kansas City and win now. And
Here's
that's
what
what's
sucks is that the Ravens lost Patrick Queen and Geno Stone, but they both went in the division.
happening. That's right. That does suck.
Like,
God,
just go set him in the NFC.
crazy.
Queen's a good player, and he's going to be a very good blitzer
In that defense. So they're not going to need much from Russ.
Their
All right,
corners are still suspect to me, outside of
Yeah, but
Joey Porter
their
Jr..
pressure is going to be just
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah.
And they
You
can
have to
draft
lo-
another corner.
What you have to hope is, if from a Browns perspective, and it feels like it's definitely maybe trending that, is that Cam Hayward is getting old finally, right?
Yeah, he was banged up last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, lots more to react to around the league. We will do so coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. The Rolling Stones Hackney Diamonds Tour. It's Saturday, June 15th, Cleveland Browns Stadium. Tickets are on sale now. Visit clevelandbrownsstadium.com/Rolling Stones for more. Is this the most stuff we've ever had at the stadium in a summer? Like high profile?
It feels like
SummerSlam,
it.
High
Stones,
profile, yes.
Billy Joe, and Rod?
I would say yes.
That's a lot. That's a lot, dude.
SummerSlam's one night only.
Can I interest
It's not a
you
two-nighter
guys?
like Mania?
No.
I don't know.
One night
Can
only.
I interest you in an Uno bomb?
We get Friday Night
Go ahead.
SmackDown here, too.
We have an Uno bomb. Go ahead, Uno.
Per Shelby Harris on Twitter, we back, baby, signing back to Cleveland.
Oh, let's go.
Hashtag back to the land.
All right.
That's
so
great.
We
So
can,
there's that. And then we also have a tackle situation that's been cleared up.
Yeah, you said Hakeem Adeniji.
Yep.
All right, so add him to the tackle mix. Add Shelby Harris back. So now you've got Dalvin, Mo Hurst, Shelby Harris, Siaki Ika in that room. Hakeem Adeniji, again, I said earlier when we were talking about it, I thought that we would add another tackle, and I still think we could add one in the draft. Now it feels like if we did, it would be maybe more of like a project guy. The kid that Dane Brugler loves from Yale might be somebody who would fit in that. Hakeem Adeniji, let's see, pulling him up. He was a 6th-round pick of the Bengals in 2020. Was just most recently on the Minnesota Vikings. So he started 15 games for the Bengals, played for the Vikings, 4 games, did not start. So just a backup depth tackle is really all that is there. I kind of remember him being with the Bengals and not being particularly great.
Yeah, I just remember the last name
Yeah.
being, yeah. So there you go. Also in the division we had right before, we had the Patrick Queen signing with the Steelers. So he goes there.
Come on.
Yeah, this division's ridiculous. It's just everybody knows they're in the window.
Yeah.
They're in the they got to go. Their rosters are in their primes, and they got to go. All 4 of the teams it's just usually 2 of them are in windows and 2 of them aren't. It's usually how it works, or one is. You rarely have an instance where 4 teams in one division are all in their window, and that's the instance here in this division at the moment. So it's going to be just a absolute meat grinder. All right, let's whip it.
All right. There it is. All right, guys. Which newly signed running back is in the best position to succeed? Which one is the worst? My options for you. Barkley to the Eagles, Jacobs to the Packers, Tony Pollard to the Titans, Eckler to the Washington, whatever they're going to be called, DeAndre Swift to the Bears, Zach Moss to the Bengals, Joe Mixon reportedly being traded to the Texans, and Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry, yeah. I really like Swift to the Bears with the rest of their weaponry, and Caleb Williams going to be coming in there. I think he's going to be in a pretty good position to succeed there, and I think they could still do some more things. I also like the Eckler one in Washington with McLaurin, and they'll draft a quarterback. That's not bad either.
But they got Brian Robinson.
Yeah, but he'll be
a change of pace
He'll be
back there, though. He's not going to be – it feels to me like he just won't be what he was.
No, he'll catch a lot of passes out of the backfield. It just gives them more weapons.
I am with you fully on – I like DeAndre Swift a lot to the Bears. I think Saquon is going to be dominant with the Eagles. I think Joe Mixon is a great signing, great get for the Texans. And then the one that's not on here that I think is going to be good is Gus Edwards in L.A. Apparently everybody in the world knew that he was going to Harbaugh, like that Harbaugh wanted him, and he's going to give him the ball a lot.
One Harbaugh to another?
One Harbaugh to another, kind of like Anquan Bolden.
So here's my question about Saquon Barkley to the Eagles.
Okay.
I don't know how good the Eagles' backs were last year, namely
Swift was
DeAndre
pretty good.
Swift. I'm assuming Swift was good, but was he elite? Was that running back room?
The thing
He
that was
just got a
tricky with them
3-year,
is like
$24
they
million.
didn't give him the ball. Like it was strange. It was like,
DeAndre Swift, 1,050 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns, averaged 4.6 yards a carry, 39 catches, 214 yards, and another touchdown. So 1,300 total yards, 6 total touchdowns. He was very good. You have to remember the touchdown numbers are so down because Hurts steals all the touchdowns.
yeah, he was frustrating for fantasy people because he would
DeAndre
get him all the way down there inside the
Yeah.
5, and then they'd go run.
That's what, and I'm not saying. I mean,
No,
Swift
he was very
clearly is a
good.
good running back.
Yeah,
He was very good.
I mean, Barkley will have the same frustration.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's not a whole lot of
Jalen
fun.
Hurts had 15 rushing touchdowns last year.
That's got to suck.
Jalen Hurts over
To do the work and then inside the 3
Jalen Hurts has 38 rushing touchdowns the last 3 years. Yeah, I'm telling DeAndre got tackled inside the 1 yard line probably 6 times that ended up then being Jalen Hurts touchdowns.
So is Barkley really in the best position to succeed?
Yes. He's going to be in an offense that is he's going to be featured. They wanted him. They gave him big money. I think he's going to get everything he wants. He's on such a better team, better line, better situation all around than he was with the Giants.
Yeah,
and I think he's talented.
I guess I also did these from the position of how much did I like the signing. Like, I love the Swift to Bears signing. I think that's fantastic for Caleb Williams. I'm with you on Saquon, and I think from a Washington perspective, Eckler's going to be a weapon, real weapon. And I think maybe that's why. Is that fair? That maybe that's why these running backs are getting the money they're getting, because they're not just being viewed as maybe it's finally worked, like the McCaffrey thing. Like, you're not a running back, you're a weapon. And these guys, most of these guys who got this money, they catch out of the backfield a little bit too and be pretty,
I think Josh Jacobs is going to be pretty good with the Packers as well.
Yeah.
The
weird thing
nice
about
little under the radar yesterday.
Aaron Jones.
Here's the thing that's weird about Josh Jacobs, though. So take his last 3 years. 872 and 9, 4 yards a carry, 54 catches, 348 yards, no receiving. He's never caught a receiving touchdown in his career, and he's caught 197 passes. 2022 was his great year, 1,653 yards, 12 touchdowns, 4.9 yards a carry, career high. Last year, 805 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3.5 yards per carry, career low, and then he also had 37 catches, 296 yards. So career low in terms of yards per scrimmage, career low in total touchdowns, and career low in yards per carry.
Yeah.
All right, up next on the CBD Whip.
They had bad quarterback spot, though, too. Like, you were able
For sure.
to really lock in on him.
Bigger head scratcher. The Falcons giving Kirk Cousins a contract when they weren't willing to give it to Lamar Jackson last season. Or the Panthers trading Brian Burns to the Giants for a 2nd and a 5th-round pick when they could have had the Rams 2 first-round picks and a 2nd-round pick a year ago.
So what was great about that is the way the hook on the first part. Because initially you just read the first part, it was like, no, of course, it was perfect money for Falcons. But then the ad of they weren't willing to give it to Lamar last season, because had they given it to Lamar last season and had he played in that offense with your boy, Artie Smith, that would have been a problem for everybody. And they would have had quarterbacks situated for a long time going forward with that. So that is crazy.
Arthur Smith, my guess, didn't think that he was, for his offense, he wasn't a see-it-throw guy. That's why he wanted, Mariota, Ritter, whatever. Who cares?
Moron. Just moron.
All right.
They would have been better off with Lamar.
What the Panthers have done is malfeasance. It single-handedly saved Ryan Poles' job.
Yeah.
Because they gifted him this. This is the net. This is from Scott Barrett. This is the net of the Brian Burns, Bryce Young, and Christian McCaffrey trades.
Yep.
Have you seen this?
I did. I talked about this morning. It's unreal.
So they have traded the first overall pick in 2024, or quarterback Caleb Williams, however you want to look at that. Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, 2023 round 1 pick, top 10, 2023 round 2 pick, 2024 round 1 pick, 2025 round 1 pick in exchange for Bryce Young, outside linebacker DJ Johnson, who was Pro Football Focus's 125th highest graded edge, 2 fifth-round picks, and a 1-year rental, in essence, of Brian Burns.
Yep.
Can't feel good this morning if you're a Panther fan.
Well, no, your boy Luke Combs didn't. Did you see him? He went right at him.
Luke Combs went at him.
Yeah. No, it's I don't know. It's how to fail running an NFL operation in the course of 2 years to give up those players and get that give back. It's nuts what they've done. And it's also, I feel bad for Bryce Young because there's just no chance for success there. None. They're never going to be able to build anything around him. I mean, I think you said in that the Bears have their number 1 next year.
So they don't. That's them taking into account the number 1 in 24 and the number 1 in 25 that they didn't take for Burns. So they didn't.
Oh, I got you.
So it's a little misleading, but that's why he says in exchange for a 1-year rental of Burns, they gave up a 24-1 and a 25-1.
I got you. Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
No, I think the Falcons one makes sense in terms when you think about it from Artie Smith, what he was trying to do at that time. But I think the Panthers is just stupefying. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That the way that they've managed assets and the roster position that they're in, it's a bad spot.
More disgruntled fan this morning. Panther fan or Viking fan? Knowing Sam Darnold's your quarterback and now your wide receiver ain't going to be coming back for that.
Well, I don't know that was the point where I thought they would sign Cousins, and all of us at the Combine assumed that they would bring back Cousins because of the Jefferson component to it. Like, do they pivot now?
No, they're keeping Justin Jefferson.
But what if he doesn't sign?
They'll franchise tag him.
I mean, he could do the same thing that T. Higgins is doing.
Yeah, what do you make of that?
Oh, that's coming up in prediction time.
Prediction time.
Yeah, no, the Viking thing is, and then the Vikings spent too. Like they spent on defensive guys. So
yeah, they were the biggest winner and biggest loser in ESPN's free agent pool.
Right. I guess they're going to take a quarterback in the draft. So that gets I don't know where they pick, but that's like that's the J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, Michael Penix spot.
Nix currently having his pro day on NFL Network. Right now.
That's those type of guys.
Yep.
They're not going to have any assets to be able to get up to the top. So
I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird spot.
Is there a team out there that makes sense for Justin Fields to go to?
There's only one spot left. It's Denver, and it doesn't make sense to me. Like, I don't think Sean Payton would have an interest in what Justin is.
If I'm the Niners, I would want to bring him in.
They could have drafted him.
Yeah, but now you can get him for nothing.
Yeah, I guess. But like Kyle, I mean, he doesn't like those guys.
We need a backup.
Yeah. I mean, it might cost you what they got for Mac Jones, like a sixth. That's what Mac Jones was worth. That might be all he's worth now.
Seattle should definitely take a look at him.
I think the places that would be best for him, and both of the quarterbacks in these spots have missed games with injury, is Philly and Baltimore. That would make the most sense. Those are the type of offenses that he would thrive in, and go be the backup in those two places.
I'm just glad he didn't go to the Steelers. I am much more afraid of the Steelers organization with Justin Fields than I am with Russell Wilson.
No doubt. Yeah, no, there's no doubt. I don't
Apparently,
understand.
though, we're in the minority.
I guess we must be, and I don't understand. I mean, we watched him play this year. He's quite dangerous.
Who is T. Higgins suiting up for week 1?
Cincinnati.
Ooh, hot take.
Didn't he demand a trade?
He did.
We've had
Jonah Williams demanded a trade and then came back. We've had guys here. They tagged Jonah, Jesse Bates, and T. Or not Jonah, but Jesse Bates and T. T held out of camp and then eventually played. I'm not saying this is what I would do if I were them. I would probably try to flip him. So the Stephon Diggs deal is the one that they're talking about down there. I don't think they're going to get a mid-first round pick for T. Higgins, but I think you could be second round, top of the second round pick for T. Higgins from another team. Then all of a sudden that other team gets a number 1 receiver. You're picking near the top 10 picks of the second round, and then you replenish that. But my hunch is that they think that they can win the Super Bowl. And with T. Higgins, they think they can, and without him, they're not sure they get somebody that good. So I think they're going to go all in.
And they're losing Boyd.
Yes, yeah. So it's a big rebuild down there.
Here's the thing with
in
Fields.
that sense, but they don't have any. My hunch is that he just plays out the tag, that he sits out minicamp, sits out training camp, and then plays.
So Fields,
and they'll ask Burrow to clean it up.
Fields' record improved every year. His completion percentage improved every year. His touchdown to interception ratio improved every year. His passing yards improved every year. His interception percentage improved every year. His success percentage improved every year. His quarterback rating improved every year. His QBR improved every year. Like, he got better every single year. And we know he's a darn good runner.
I don't know. I don't get it.
No.
I don't know.
There must be something beyond.
All right,
what
real
we are
quick,
privy
because we're
to.
up against a break. Calvin Ridley is still unsigned. Who will sign Calvin Ridley?
It's a good question.
I try.
Who could really? I mean, Jacksonville, I feel like certainly could still use him. It wouldn't surprise me to see him back in Jacksonville. What about Kansas City?
That's the first team I thought of. Is Kansas City.
Give him a real option there.
Real prove it. Come here, light it up. Then we'll see if we can get you paid.
All right. That's a CBD whip, gentlemen.
Yeah, that is.
Chicago,
Yeah,
they have a lot of money.
they do. Washington's got a lot of money. Yeah. All right, we'll reset everything the Browns have done and may continue to do going forward. Ben Allbright going to join us coming up at 2:30. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Be part of one of the most passionate fan base of the NFL. Join Next Gen STM, presented by Ticketmaster, official waitlist of your Cleveland Browns. Being a Next Gen STM, the best chance to become a season ticket member in future seasons. Visit clevelandbrowns.com/nextgenstm to reserve your spot today. So we had a very busy weekend, had a very busy day yesterday when it came to the Cleveland Browns, and we've had a couple of more minor signings today in terms of offensive tackle and some other things that we've seen. What are next on your checklist? We went through the roster earlier in the show, and we encourage you to get that wherever you get your podcasts. We'll have all the details on that if you missed any of that. But in terms of the full roster breakdown, you said they got to get into the tackle. They did it. And we mentioned defensive tackle.
Yeah, guard, offensive tackle, defensive tackle. Check.
Check.
All while we've been here. I think probably another linebacker.
Yeah.
And then they're very good at drafting corners, so I don't see why you'd really necessarily pay for one. But if you got a corner that you liked at a good price, then that would seem to make a lot of sense to me. So yeah, I think that's really all there is left to do. And then you're going to go in there and draft tight end. Tight end was another position I could see My guess is, though, that could be a draft pick as well. Oh, wait, how about Mac Williams? 3 years, $13 million with the Arizona Cardinals.
Mac Williams?
Mac Wilson.
Oh,
sorry.
Wilson.
Yeah.
So, yeah, did Sione replace Mac?
Yeah, it seems that way.
Like, we had them both here.
wild.
Elliott was a part of those drafts that drafted. They were
Yeah.
in the same draft, both of those guys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll miss Sione Takataki a great deal. He was great.
Great. And AWOC. I loved AWOC, too.
Yeah, he was. But this is part of this business at the moment. All right, time for your Griff stat of the day.
It's all Griff today.
Fact of the day.
Fact of the day.
Where's the jingle? Fact of the day, fact of the day, fact of the day. It's the Griff Fact of the Day.
Hello, boys.
Oh,
Griff.
Griff. Let's go.
Get him on Griff Cam.
Here, 1 sec.
1 sec. 1 sec, sir.
Thank you.
By the way, somebody challenged. There's
Gibby.
Somebody challenged us to a bowling match, and they put up their scores. I couldn't even understand it. I didn't realize there were handicaps in bowling. I didn't understand any of it.
As long as we
But they're
got
like,
Griff,
they're
I'm
like
not
they
worried.
challenged us to a bowl. I don't know. It felt like they had like 4 good bolt rollers, and I think we might only have 1. So I don't know it's going to end well for us.
I just
Go
say,
ahead.
give me your best, and we'll give you our best.
Your best man versus like that movie Troy that Brad Pitt was in.
Yeah.
When they ended that first fight with you, my best man versus we'll do it the old way.
Yeah. My best man, your best. That's our
Yeah,
best
that's
man
our-
right there.
that's
He's
our
on
Achilles.
screen right now.
That's our Achilles right there. All right, go ahead, Griff.
Okay, so if you boys didn't know, I'm a bit of a history buff. My dad was actually a high school history teacher.
I like it.
And
Love
had
it.
it pretty interesting, say the least. History teacher that taught me this about 7 or 8 years ago that I've been waiting to tell you guys.
All right.
So, have you guys ever heard of a gentleman by the name of Charles Joggins?
No, I've not. No.
So Charles
I don't want to cheat
Joggins,
because I'm reading the fact of the day. But before that, no.
No, you got no
okay,
point of
so
reference.
he perhaps has one of the most remarkable and maybe most fictitious survival stories.
Okay.
So he was actually the chief baker on the SMS Titanic.
Ah.
And so whenever the ship hit the side of the iceberg, he was helping load the women and children onto those life rafts.
Yep.
And because they had because they had not enough life rafts for everyone.
Yeah.
And because he was a male and also worked on the Titanic, he knew he'd probably be one of the last people off of the Titanic. Because of that, he decided to go down into his cabin, get himself a drink or two, some may
Smart.
say into oblivion,
Yep.
and
Some may say.
Some.
some may say, and he was one of the last people to be fully submerged into the freezing cold temperatures. He claims that he was in the water for 2 to 4 hours treading water, and during this,
While oblivion.
he remained
Impressive.
calm and later explained that there was no great shock or anything to him. And then he later proceeded to stay afloat for this remarkable amount of time and was finally able to spot an overturned lifeboat and made his way to land. And so
Come
whether or
on.
not the alcohol actually helped him, he
I think
managed
so.
to survive with no injuries other than some swollen feet, and he managed to go back to work in a matter of days.
Sounds like you drink a little
Where
Knob
does he go?
Creek.
Where-
It's going to help you survive the cold temperatures, kids.
Where's he going back to work? The Titanic's.
Well, he's baking on the next ship, right? You got to be banking on the next
I
ship.
feel like it'd be hard to decide I'd like to get back on a boat.
Well, I couldn't necessarily find where he went back to work at, but I know he decided to go to New Jersey, and that's where he lived the rest of his life.
That's
right.
incredible. And the claim is that the booze helped.
Yes.
Same, brother. I feel you. Good job out of you on the Griff fact of the day.
Thank you.
Go
I
ahead.
have a just a quick aside fact of the day. That this
Yep.
is more like a public service announcement. I read an article that disturbed me deeply,
Okay.
and so I want to share.
Are you becoming Pedro unbeknownst to me?
No,
Okay. Go ahead.
no. This was a story about a lady who, very prominent woman, had a huge ranch out in Texas.
Okay.
And was driving to go, a 4-minute drive to go home. Thought she put her car in drive, but actually put it in reverse. So when she accelerated,
Yep.
she went backwards
Sure.
into a pond.
Okay. Yeah.
She called her friend, said, I'm in this,
I'm in a pond.
help me out.
Yeah.
She's no longer with us because the way that the cars are built now, you could not possibly kick the windows out while they're underwater. So, my
there-
public
and
service
the
announcement
the pressure was there's too much pressure. You can't open the door.
Can't
and
open the
you can't
door.
kick them out because it's the way they're built.
So if anybody who's listening,
All right.
if you
This took a
ever
turn.
find yourself in a car going into water, they said there was I read this whole thing about where a guy all you have to think about doing is getting your window down. So, like, as soon as you go over and you're like, oh, my God, I'm going in water, roll your windows down because you'll be able to get out of your seatbelt. You'll be able to then do that next, but then you can swim out.
Number one thing, get the windows down.
Get the windows down. Because not like the old days. In the old days, you had a crank
Yeah,
where you could at least crank
yeah.
the window
But
down.
power window.
So if it ever happens to anybody, and anybody you love, tell them. Because people think they can kick the windows out.
You can't.
You can't. You can't open the door. It's too much pressure. So if you go in, just get it open. Don't worry about the water coming in. You're going to at least be able to get out, and you can get up to the top. That's your only chance. So public service announcement.
The last 5 minutes there is everything Griff Fact of the Day should be.
Yes.
Across the board, included with your public service announcement of the poor woman in Texas. Ben Allbright up next. Cleveland Browns Daily 850 ESPN Cleveland. Hey, kids, don't miss Billy Joel, Rod Stewart together for the first time ever. It's Friday, September 13th, Cleveland Browns Stadium. Tickets are on sale. Visit clevelandbrownsstadium.com/Billy and Rod 2024.
Billy and Rod 2024.
It's Billy Joel, Rod Stewart together for one night only.
It's only one night.
It's only one night.
That's it.
That's it. It's
Have you been dreaming about Billy and Rod?
It's all I've been dreaming about. It's as special as when you have Ben Allbright on. Great friend of the program, KOA Denver, NFL Insider. He joins on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. Benjamin Allbright joining us. Hey, buddy, I'm just trying to think. I feel like Z and I talked to you about Jerry Jeudy to the Browns. Was it last year?
It was last year there were talks.
There were talks. Mm-hmm. So this has been something that Andrew Berry has circled for a long time, and it finally gets consummated over the weekend.
It did, yeah. It's just something we've been talking about for a while, and of course Cleveland was involved at the trade deadline last year, didn't get it done. There were several teams that were trying to get it done. Ultimately, they spent less than what they offered at that point in time, so it ends up working out, I guess, for the Browns fans in terms of shilling out less compensation. Now you get it all, a very, very talented athlete who has yet to put it all together as a wide receiver, and hopefully a change of scenery will do that for him.
Why was the price as seemingly low as it was?
Well, from what I understand, they threw an offer at it, but Jerry Jeudy dropped it. No, I'm kidding.
That's too easy.
It's one of those. Hey, it's one of those things where I just think that there's just not the production to get more. I mean, at this point in time, they knew the Broncos had to move. You're on a fifth-year option. It does the Broncos a favor in terms of cap anyway. They needed to get that cap off the books at the time in order to be compliant. So, I think at the end, I think it's just a situation that worked out. I don't think it was hey, we're having a fire sale. It's just like, hey, here's an offer. This gets him a new place. It gets us the $12 million in cap space. It's just a win for everybody.
Yeah, almost the waiting the half year for the Browns kind of shifted who had the leverage in the trade, because the Broncos more needed the $12 million than they needed Jerry Jeudy, given that they don't even have a quarterback right now.
No, and speaking of Jerry Jeudy, can you give us the highlights and the lowlights, if you will, of his time in Denver?
The highlights, I mean, the day he was drafted, certainly.
Yeah.
They really thought they were getting an injection of juice. It's fun. I'll say this, and I'm being sarcastic. Jerry's a great person to watch in practice, too. You'll love watching him practice because he's going to break ankles. The way he stops on a dime, the way he drops his hips and gears down, it gets him the title of good route runner. But really, he's just a sharp-cut guy and a great athlete who can gear down and gear up real quick, and that's big. He's at his best playing out of the slot. And you want to get him the ball early, because if you don't, he tends to kind of pout and check out a little bit. But if you get him the ball early and you can keep him dialed in during games, I mean, he can be productive. He's had some monster games before. So, and he's, I'll say this, corners he's played against always list him as the hardest guy to cover. So, there's certainly that aspect of it. In terms of lowlights, I mean, there were some just egregious drops, wide open, touchdown, didn't drag the foot, dropped the ball, plays where, he should have been dialed in and didn't know what he was doing. At one point, Pat Shurmur, when he was here, had relegated him to being the fake handoff guy on the jet sweep, and that's just all he did. He had an off-field incident, which was largely overblown. For people Googling and saying that he's a bad guy, he's not a bad guy. The domestic violence thing, he hid the phone. He hid the girl's phone in his car, and that's classified as domestic violence in Colorado. There was no physical altercation. So anybody telling you that is wrong. He's a good guy. He's a good athlete. He just needs, like I said, a fresh start and to get his legs back under him as a wide receiver and a football player more than just a great athlete.
Yeah, one thing that and I'm sure you probably know this as well, but just in the reading, it feels like he idolized Amari Cooper. And just listening to some of the things you're saying about to be in the same room with Amari Cooper, he went to Bama in part because Coop was there. That mentorship is probably something they're banking on, and that change of scenery. It feels like this might kind of be and we're optimistic, obviously, that maybe that's the perfect change of scenery for Jerry Jeudy.
Well, yeah, I think it's ideal. I mean, if there was anywhere to place him, I think it's ideal with somebody who, has familiarity with, who does have kind of that idolization thing, somebody you can look up to, that you can emulate, and that has the right things to emulate, like Coop does. So, I do believe that if there was a perfect landing spot, that Cleveland was probably it.
Yeah, we certainly hope that would be it would be great. And with a fifth and a sixth, it's a fairly low-risk proposition bringing in Jerry Jeudy here to the Cleveland Browns. Can we talk for a second, though, just about Denver and what's going on with this Broncos team? Obviously, Russell Wilson gets cut. They'll have the two biggest dead money hits, ever. One of them for 1 year, but the largest number over 2 years. They clearly just wanted to get rid of him. They don't have a quarterback. Feels like the quarterback carousel is kind of spun. What do you think the Broncos' plan is at this time?
Well, I mean, they had a plan. I think it just didn't work. Quarterbacks chose other places. They were kind of eyeballing the Kirk Cousins thing, even though they really didn't have the cap space. They were eyeballing Sam Darnold, Jacoby Brissett. Those guys chose other places. It's just one of those situations where, the reputation of Sean Payton, the actuality of Sean Payton may not match up. Sean Payton's ego caused him to move on from Russ because he wanted somebody who would do what he wanted to do rather than somebody who was, doing well outside of structure. And now you've got a giant cap hit, no quarterback, and not really any prospects. You can't really trade up. You don't have much draft capital. You can't trade up into the top five. You don't have enough cap space, and all those quarterbacks are gone. So what are you going to do? I think if you're the Broncos at this point, you're either looking at a stopgap veteran like Jimmy Garoppolo or Ryan Tannehill, paired with a rookie that's available around 12 or later, like a Bo Nix. Maybe you make a trade for a Sam Howell or a Zach Wilson. Although my stomach just reviled at the thought. So it's one of those situations where Sean Payton's bold move to try to import the 2020 Saints that didn't win anything to the Denver Broncos is suddenly blowing up in his face. Yeah,
and one name you didn't mention there is a guy who actually has been very productive and gotten better with each season is Justin Fields, but he's kind of the only guy left out there, but it doesn't feel like that's a philosophical fit at all based on the things that you just described that Payton and the Broncos are looking for.
Yeah, Sean Payton's looking for somebody to play in structure and execute what it is that he calls. And I don't know, the Broncos just moved on, took $80 million cap hit to move on from a Hall of Fame improviser. I don't know why they would go after a Hall of Middling improviser in Fields.
It's just wild.
Yeah.
Are you shocked that he's nowhere?
No, not at all. I mean, the market for him is not. I mean, Justin Fields has not been very good as a pro. I mean, with all due respect, I'm sure he's a great guy, but he's a bottom 5, bottom 7 starter in just about every category. He runs the ball really well, but he takes a long time to throw the football and process the field. And he's gotten better every year, but the reality is he's still a bottom 7 starter. And his offensive coordinator for the last 2 years thought so little of him. He's like, let's go out and overpay Gardner Minshew to be my quarterback. So that speaks volumes to me.
Yeah, it's true with the Minshew signing with the Raiders. Yeah, it's wild. Like sometimes you just the reality that we think it is versus the reality of the league are very, very different, and the market is speaking. What is the one thing of, because obviously now we have Russ Wilson in the division here with Pittsburgh. How do you think that fit will go, and what do you think of the move for him to go there?
I'm sorry, you kind of.
Did we lose Ben?
You guys cut out there.
Oh,
Right?
I got you. Okay. Now we got you back. I was just at you. Yeah, you were around Russell Wilson for 2 years. What do you think about the fit in Pittsburgh, and what type of impact do you think he will have on that operation?
I think it's a good fit with Arthur Smith. I know people are talking about Smith's offense being over the middle of the field, but that hasn't always been the case. When Smith was the OC of the Titans, Tannehill and them, they'd like to hit the crossing routes, the deep crossers on off play action, and the deep over. So I don't think that that's necessarily a thing. Russ was always going to go pair with Arthur Smith once he got benched. I mean, whether it was Atlanta, whether it was Pittsburgh, it was kind of a foregone thing. So I like the fit. It'd just be interesting to see how he does in that locker room with those players, because Russ is a different dude, like personally, and so. George Pickens and John, those outspoken receivers. That's one thing that kind of has my eyebrow raised, is when something goes wrong and Russ is doing his "I'm always positive," almost toxic positivity thing. How those guys will react to that.
From the outside, at times it appears that he can be strange, I think is a fair way to word it.
Yeah.
Is that what you're alluding to? Just kind of his uniqueness and how that will play in a locker room that has a pretty well established and at times volatile under Mike Tomlin, but established culture.
Yeah, I mean I think we're all just dancing around it. Russ is a dork, Let's just be honest here. Russ is kind of a dork, and the things that he says are kind of dorky. And when you're in the heat of battle, sometimes that does not resonate. It takes the right group of people to kind of let that resonate. When they were in Detroit and he's on the sideline clapping positive, hey, we gotta believe, and people are looking at him like, dude, it's 8 minutes left and we're down 21. We're not gonna believe, we're not gonna win. Like, this isn't gonna happen. How about some fire? And he just doesn't have that in him. He's that always positive, you gotta believe, cliche guy.
Well, and it works when you're great. And there was times in Seattle he was. So you can do that.
It still ruffled the Legion of Boom the wrong way.
It did, but when you're great, you can deal with it. You can compartmentalize it.
Yes.
But when you're average, not. And that seems to be the case.
Yeah, I think the other thing is Russ had built some cachet up in Seattle. They won the Super Bowl. They were constantly successful, and so he built cachet up over the years to be able to do that. He didn't have that in Denver. I mean, they were bad under Hackett and then the middling under Peyton. So, it just didn't have that. It didn't resonate.
Taking a step back, looking at the league in general, what stood out to you this free agency period? What have you liked? What moves? What have you liked?
Well, I mean, a lot of people were surprised by the running back thing. I haven't really been. I mean, the Josh Jacobs one surprised me, but the market itself being strong when you look at this draft class, not surprising. And then conversely, the other way with receivers. You guys went out and got Judy for on the cheap, a 5th and a 6th, right?
Yeah.
There really hasn't been much movement on the receiver market in terms of contracts, and what that's telling you is that this is a very loaded draft class that the teams are just not willing to spend on. So, if you can get a receiver for very low draft capital or not spending on a contract, then you're doing pretty well.
Speaking of receivers, two of probably the more prominent names that are still out there. T. Higgins has requested a trade. Calvin Ridley still available. What have you heard, if anything, about those two?
I know Higgins is looking for a trade, but I haven't heard much on. What I can tell you with Calvin Ridley is I know Jacksonville's like even trying to bring him back. New England, I know, is at the table for Calvin Ridley. I know they've got a substantive offer in front of them, and there's some other teams out there that are certainly in the mix. But I think those are the two most prominent right now, unless somebody steps up a little higher. So I think he goes to New England, but we'll see how it works out.
Always good talking to you, buddy. Thanks for your perspective and time.
Absolutely. Take care, guys.
All right, that's our buddy Benjamin Allbright, host of KOA Radio and NFL Insider. He joined the show on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. So we're just wrong on Fields. I guess that's just what we have to say. We're just wrong.
Yeah. I mean, it feels that
I guess
way.
we have to just be wrong. I hate when we're wrong.
Well, it has to happen every now and then.
It doesn't happen often.
No.
I mean, you're welcome on the picks through all these years,
Yeah,
but my God.
Listen,
like,
if we're
it just feels like
99%.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm
And
feels
it's not-
like he's not bottom 7. Like, no way.
There's no
I
way
don't
he's bottom
think that.
7. I can't imagine that.
He must. Okay, to be fair, you and I, at least I don't, obviously, because of what I'm doing on most. I'm not sitting down and watching a lot of Bears games. Watching
Not either.
a ton of Bears tape. I did watch some prior to the game that we played him. I will say, like, I came away in my preparations for the Steelers when they had played Green Bay the week before. I came away way more impressed with Jordan Love than maybe I am with Justin Fields, just as a thrower of the football. And that, as the season went on, bore itself out. But he's an incredible athlete. He clearly must miss so many layups that it drives coaches wild. That's the only reason that, number one, the guy who coached him wouldn't be like, we can play with this guy in Vegas. He's like, we'd rather have Gardner Minshew. That's pretty damning, and Allbright was right to point that out.
I didn't connect the dots on that. I had forgotten that guy was hired.
Yeah, that's what it's got to be. He's got to be in coaches' minds a coach killer because he doesn't execute what he should be able to execute effortlessly. And then he does make spectacular plays. You go back and you remember the game against Washington, which was a national TV game, and he's just dropping dimes all over the place to DJ Moore.
Right.
And you know what he can do with his legs. So
it's the first. It's the first.
It's got to be.
It's you miss so many layups that the good that you do, even if it's extraordinary, does not outweigh how many things you're missing that are easy.
I think that knowing coaches like I do, the amount of time they put into it to give you the best chance to succeed, I think it would be very hard for coaches who scheme something up. It's the right thing. It's schemed up. It's there exactly as you talked about it, and then you just don't see it or execute it, and that probably drives them mad.
Yeah. So if my advice to him would be Philly or Baltimore, and get in one of those situations. Philly, that's fine. Get to Philly and resuscitate that thing a little bit, and maybe figure out a little bit how to do it.
It helped Minshew, right? Minshew went from there to Indy with his coach who had left, and then now goes to Vegas, and he's getting an opportunity to start. I mean, I think you're right. I don't think they can keep. They're not just going to keep him.
There's no way. He's way too popular in the locker room. He's way too popular with the fan base. He would not be someone who's going to help Caleb Williams.
No.
So no, they're going to get rid of him. It'll be a 6th round pick, is what it'll be. There's no leverage.
It's going to be like a conditional day 3 that has the chance to be better if he happens to play and play well.
Yeah, but he's going to be a backup somewhere. It's not going to be to start.
I'll be honest. If that's all it takes, I wouldn't have minded him coming here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, for sure.
Wild.
Yeah, so much more to come. Cleveland Runs Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. So we've had a lot of business here.
A lot of business.
And there will be some official stuff tomorrow.
I mean, you think about from our standpoint, right? Trade for Judy, so that's a new. Resign Zadarius, resign Mo Hurst, resign Michael Dunn, bring in Naeem Hines, Jordan Hicks, Hakeem Adeniji. So 7, right? Am I missing anybody? I don't think so.
No.
Did you say Shelby?
Yeah, he said, well, that's a retention.
And Shelby's a retention,
30.
another retention. So we've retained 4, added 4. So
Yeah.
we've made 8 moves here.
Yeah,
in
it's
the
been
early-
busy.
Yeah,
been very busy. Been busy around the league. Going to continue as well. The next level is coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.